Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, hockey fans. It is a promising little 7 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, in a bright Bridgewater, Nova Scotia today. My name is Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to the Saturday, April 23rd edition of the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast. Now, are we ever getting an early start today? It is 8:30 a.m. local time here in Nova Scotia, which means the final game last night has only been over for about 6 hours. And this is what the first round of the NHL playoffs does to me. I got such a jam-packed schedule today, including work and some running around. 8:30 in the morning, I'm here on a Saturday, 6 hours since I went to bed, here to bring this episode to you. Don't ever say I didn't do anything for you. But here we go. Saturday, April 23rd. We had 4 really excellent games last night, 2 of which went into very exciting overtime periods. We had a second series come to an end last night, and we had 2 teams stave off elimination with big victories. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the series, which is now over. It's the last time we'll be talking about it. It was the late game. It was the San Jose Sharks taking on the Los Angeles Kings in LA for Game 5 of that series. San Jose doubles up the Kings 6-3 in this game. San Jose wins the series 4-1 by beating Los Angeles in Los Angeles 3 times. You can't script it any better than that. Shots in this game were 28-22 in favor of the road Sharks. So based on the way these playoffs have been going, this game kicks off the only way it should and the only way that it knows how, by a goal in the first minute. Well, actually, it was just after the first minute. It was 1 minute and 8 seconds into the first period. The scoring has been opened. It's San Jose on the road who gets on the board first. An excellent start to the game. It's Joonas Donskoi with his first goal, his first career playoff goal, I believe. Certainly his first goal of these playoffs. Logan Couture picking up the assist. In the slot, Donskoi with a nice little dangle around the defender, shoots the wrister, and it finds a home behind Jonathan Quick. San Jose is off to exactly the start that they wanted. They lead 1-0. Shortly after the opening goal, the Kings take a pair of really undisciplined penalties within the span of about 15 seconds. The Sharks record 2 shots only on those power plays and 3 that miss the net. So maybe a little bit of nerves playing a role there for the Sharks. Had an opportunity there. Opportunity lost as the Kings kill off a pair of penalties. The Sharks are maintaining pressure here, though. They start throwing the body. Jonathan Quick fighting off a shot coming in from Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Quick was not terrible in this game. He just had himself a bad first period. The Kings' pushback starts around the middle of the first, but the Sharks turn it around, and in transition, the Sharks double their lead. 11:21 into the first period. San Jose's on the board again. It's Tierney with his first from Brent Burns. Just a nice little lead pass from Burns. Tierney wrists it home. It's 2-0. I think Quick would like to have that one back. But San Jose now on the board, up 2-0, with a chance to really exercise some playoff demons here and get rid of the Kings. Rest of the first period is a fairly back and forth affair. There's chances on both ends of the ice. The Kings open up the second period with fire, a really big push here. The Sharks are, for their part, they're getting down, they're blocking some shots. There are lots of attempts on net, but one more time, the Sharks turn it around in transition, and 4:05 into the second period, the game starts to get a little out of hand here for the Kings. San Jose now up 3-0. It's Nieto with his first of these playoffs. Ward and Couture drawing the assists. Ward with the puck behind the net, feeds it into the slot. Nieto pounds it home. It is now 3-0 Sharks, and some very nervous times here for the Kings. 5:31 into the second period, Patrick Marleau is awarded the ever so rare penalty shot in the playoffs, but a really weak backhander. I think Jonathan Quick could have literally saved that in a coma. Really nothing on that Marleau backhander. Quick with the big save. That is the turning point in this game, because that could have spelled the end of this thing. That could have put them up 4-0, and that's basically an insurmountable lead here. So that really could have been the dagger. It is a bit of a turning point, because after that point, the Kings turn up the physicality, recording 3 hits in 17 seconds, and they generate off of them. 7:44 into the second period. The Kings are on the board. It's Anze Kopitar with his second goal of these playoffs. King and Doughty drawing the assist. Point shot from Doughty. It deflects off King, and then it deflects off Kopitar. So it's the double deflector off of the point shot. Kopitar is credited with his second. The Kings are on the board. After the 3-1 goal, it kind of starts picking up here a little bit. Play opens up a bit for these two teams. It's starting to turn into a little bit of a track meet up and down the ice. 11:26 into the second period, the Kings pull back within 1. It's Jeff Carter with his second of these playoffs. Muzzin and Toffoli with the assists. Again, another pass just into the slot. Jeff Carter fights off his defender, wrists it home. Got the big celebration, the big fist pump. The Kings now only down by a goal. Back and forth play continues here, but you're starting to get the impression that obviously the Kings are the team that's got the momentum here, and the Kings are getting the better quality of chances. Luke Shen misses the net on an attempt. Clifford hits the post, so close, but immediately off of that post hit. 16:36 into the second period, the Kings, I was about to say miraculously, but remarkably tie this game. It's Chris Versteeg with his first of these playoffs. Clifford and Muzzin draw the assists. Versteeg picking up the rebound off of Clifford's post shot, and he tucks it in. The game is tied. The Kings are going nuts. That crowd is going nuts. And this is obviously, at this point, a whole new hockey game. Trevor Lewis kind of kills a little bit of the buzz by taking a slashing penalty on Thomas Hertl, but the second period ends with the San Jose power play. Really not a lot of pressure on this power play, so really no damage done there. I don't want to say that the Sharks really dominated the third period. I think that would be unfair to the Kings and the effort that they put forward, but the Sharks really made the most of the efforts and opportunities that they presented in the third period. 3:58 into the third period, it begins. The Sharks get back on the board. They take the lead again. It's Joonas Donskoi one more time. His second goal of these playoffs. Burns and Couture drawing the assists. A bit of a scramble play in front of Quick. Donskoi picks up the Burns rebound. He puts it home. Donskoi with his second, and that gives the Sharks back the lead. The physicality now amping up. Both of these teams looking for the edge. Still a very close game. LeCavalier just tips the puck wide. What a story that would have been in what is likely his last NHL game. And the Sharks at this point are starting to play that dump and chase game. Shut down defense, middle of the third period. It seems a little early for this, but to me, that's just an indication of the respect that this San Jose team gives to Los Angeles. They know that they've been there before, so they start this game early. But for a lot of this third period, it kind of feels like Los Angeles is on the power play. It feels like Los Angeles is possessing the puck for quite some time. Not amazing chances, but puck possession, and puck possession is important. But 12:24 into the third period, San Jose doubles the lead. It's now 5-3. It's Joe Pavelski with his fifth goal of these playoffs, and this one was the backbreaker. Burns and Martin picking up the assists. This is just a weak shot. Like, this is just something that Quick needs to have. I think Quick was thinking about 1,000,001 other things at this point. When might I get to the bench? Like, not obviously not going to go to the bench at 12:24, but you're starting to think that way. And I think he just overthinks it, and he wasn't paying attention to the immediacy of the moment. Pavelski just beats him. It's a weak wrister, and it goes straight through the 5-hole. It's one that 100 times out of 100 Jonathan Quick is going to save. Unfortunately, this must have been 101 because it just sneaks by him. And I think that really took the life out of the Kings. That was definitely the goal. Martin Jones, though, stoning Tyler Toffoli just 20 seconds after that 5-3 goal. The Kings pull Quick at 16 minutes. There's 4 full minutes left in this period. Everything on net for the Kings. Near misses from Anze Kopitar, McNabb, King. Everything on net. But 19:38 into the third period, San Jose into the empty net. It's Carlson, assist from Marleau. It is now 6-3, and that's it. San Jose wins Game 5, beats Los Angeles in Los Angeles for the third consecutive playoff game. The Kings are going home. San Jose wins that series 4-1. Let's go now to our most lopsided game of the evening, which is really interesting given the way that the game ended. Philadelphia at Washington for Game 5 of their series. Washington comes into this game leading 3-1 in the series. Philadelphia with a remarkable 2-0 shutout victory over the Capitals. Michael Neuwirth with the shutout there. Why is it remarkable? Shots in this game. The Capitals quadruple the Flyers in shots. 44-11. Unbelievable. 44 of the game's 55 shots belonged to the Capitals, and they lost the game. What a game for Michael Neuwirth. Washington now leads the series 3-2, and again, by most accounts, the Capitals dominate this game. No, it's not just the shots, it's the hits. They were badly out-hitting Philadelphia. There were a lot of aspects in this game where Washington simply was better, except on the scoreboard. Shen and Oshie drop the gloves 10 seconds into this one. We got a playoff fight. That's payback for some theatrics in Game 4, a cross-check to the back or side of the knee. Justin Williams taking a double minor penalty on Schultz. Holtby denying Wayne Simmons on the power play. Looks like Holtby's really dialed in here as well. Radko Gudas taking a bad cross-checking penalty on Kyle Alsner. Washington throws 6 shot attempts towards the Philadelphia net on the power play, and 2 more immediately after. Washington at this point starting to assert themselves. Not just shot-wise, but as I mentioned, hits-wise. The hits in this game, 11-5 for Washington in the first period, evened out a little bit more at 12-10, edge here still to the Capitals. But Ovechkin's first shot of the game doesn't come until the early second period. Another slow start for Ovechkin. Michael Neuwirth stopping a nifty little dangle backhander. That classic Ovechkin dangle from behind the back goes between his legs. Great stop by Michael Neuwirth. Justin Williams gets caught for another high stick. You got to watch that stick, son. Got to keep that thing down, keep it close to the ice just as the penalty expires. 7:52 into the second period. We have our opening goal. Philadelphia's on the board. It's White from Gagne and Streit. A little deflection off of a rebound. White gets the goal. Philadelphia up 1-0. In the immediacy after that first goal, that 1-0 goal, the Flyers, you got to feel like they're getting the better of the play after the goal. Washington, definitely, though, sticking around in this one. But late second, the Caps take over again. 18 shot attempts by Washington in the final 6 minutes trying to tie this game. 6 more shot attempts in the first 2 minutes of the third period. Michael Neuwirth gets TJ Oshie in close and robs him, keeping this a 1-0 game. Great save on TJ Oshie. The Flyers have no physical presence in this game, really, whatsoever. That second period was at least close, but the third period, the hits are back to 10-2 Washington. No physical presence from the Flyers whatsoever. White interferes with Schmid. Not a great power play for Washington. That's a break for Philadelphia, given how the penalty kill for Philly has played in this series so far. That's a huge break to give up the opportunity, and Washington just really not playing a very strong power play. You got a little Philadelphia push here in the late third period. As far as I'm concerned, watching the game, that was purely to kill clock. They're not trying to get much of anything on net. They're not trying to get a second one. They're just trying to get this clock killed. The Capitals pull Holtby, but in the final 5 minutes of this third period, Washington was not good enough. They got 7 attempts on net, fine, 7 attempts in the last 5 minutes, whatever. But Philadelphia got 5, and one of those attempts goes into the empty net. 19:29 into the third period. Philadelphia, with the empty net goal, doubles the lead and ices it. It's Van de Velde from Belmar. Philadelphia goes up 2-0. That is your final score. Philadelphia survives. Like, this is the game where, more so than many other games that we've talked about here, Philadelphia literally just survives this game. Outshot badly, out-hit badly, but Philadelphia survives on the back of Michael Neuwirth with an unbelievable performance. I guess it made sense to make the goalie change because what a game for Neuwirth. Philly wins 2-0. Washington now leads that series 3-2, going back to Philadelphia for Game 6. Let's take a look now at a pair of games that needed more than 60 minutes to decide who was going to win them. The Islanders in Florida taking on the Panthers, Game 5 of that series. This series tied at 2, heading into Game 5. The Islanders come up big with a 2-1 overtime victory over the Panthers in Florida in Game 5. Shots in this game, 48-41 for Florida. This was pure offense. Pretty good performances by the goaltenders there too on both sides. 48-41 one more time, the shots for Florida. The Islanders now lead this series 3-2, going back home for Game 6 with a chance to win it on home ice. The Islanders definitely open this game with the better of the early play. Florida takes a penalty early in this one, and Luongo has to come up with a big save on John Tavares, the most dangerous Islander, and Luongo is equal to the task, making a big save. Thomas Greiss would be tested soon after that Luongo save. Some nice little tic-tac-toe passing here by the Panthers. Greiss coming up with a big save on Matheson, and that is not the last time that would happen. In fact, almost immediately after that, Greiss is tested again. Another stop on Matheson. A nice little tipped pass in front from Matheson after Greiss has to make equally good saves on Jágr as well as Huberdeau. So dangerous chances here for the Panthers. Both teams, though, are doing work. They're fighting for every chance that they've got out there. 13:31 in the first period. The Islanders break the deadlock and take the lead. It's Franz Nielsen with his third goal of these playoffs. Hickey draws the assist. A nice little rush in there. A wrist shot rebound by Nielsen, and they are on the board. The Islanders take the lead. Real back and forth play here to end the first period. Huberdeau taking a pretty questionable hooking penalty on Casey Cizikas. That is momentum for the New York Islanders. No damage on the power play, but that is definitely momentum. Florida starts their pushback about 5 minutes into the second period, and in a 2-minute span, Florida sends 6 shots on net. Thomas Greiss being called upon again here to make big saves. The puck is centered for Aaron Ekblad. Big one-timer from the young defenseman. Greiss equal to the task, making a big save. Bobby Lou also equal to the task on his end of the ice. He stops Brock Nelson 3 times back-to-back. Nelson's got the puck on the doorstep. 1 and 2 and 3. 3 big pad saves. Bobby Lou keeping his team in it. The Islanders starting up to apply some physical pressure now. 6 straight hits here in the late second period. John Tavares, the Islanders get a break. They get a too-many-men penalty, but Tavares, with a slash, kills that too-many-men power play. Florida ending the second period subsequently with 3 chances on the 4-on-4. Momentum for the Panthers carrying over here into the third period. 3 shots in a 2-minute span, and a minute 59 seconds into the third period. Florida's on the board. They've tied this game. It's Alex Barkov with his second goal of these playoffs from Petrovic and Jágr. Nice little cycle around here by the Panthers. Barkov tips the Petrovic pass. It's in the net. The game is tied. Now, this goal was challenged as an offside. I believe it was challenged, not just an official review. I'm pretty sure it was challenged. As an offside, the goal stands and the game is tied. The Islanders at this point are badly out-hitting the Panthers, and by the end of the game, it was a ridiculous tally. I think the Islanders had almost 60 hits in this game, I believe, if my numbers are correct. They're badly out-hitting Florida, really owning the physical game, but they just now kind of start generating a little bit off of it. A huge Islanders push here beginning in the mid-third period. 6 shots in a row after 7 hits and winning 6 out of 7 faceoffs. So the Islanders really take control of the middle and late third period here, trying to take the lead. Johnny Boychuk and Calvin DeHaan, key shot blocks though during a very late third period. Florida push within the last couple of minutes, couple of big blocks, good defensive plays, and we are going to overtime. Now, the overtime period starts with Thomas Greiss with another big save on a Matheson shot. This time, a big booming slapper, and Greiss making another big save. He had Matheson's number all night. The Islanders not giving up that physical play in overtime. The first overtime period, 13-4 were the hits here for the Islanders. I kind of buried the lead there when I said first overtime period. Greiss is starting, though, to get peppered. A pair of slap shots from Teddy Purcell, a big shot from Alex Petrovic. Greiss is starting to have chances thrown his way, but he's equal to the task, man. He is there and he's making those stops. Both offenses, though, do seem a little nervous, maybe a little overexcited. Both teams combine for 18 shot misses or shots that are blocked in that overtime period. Calvin DeHaan with a huge gaff. He closes his hand on the puck in the crease. Barkov is awarded a penalty shot for this, stopped by Thomas Greiss. Big scramble now in front of Luongo. Couple of huge saves in traffic. I'm not 100% sure whether he even saw the puck, but Luongo making a couple of big saves. Here's the turning point in overtime. The second overtime period. A pair of Florida penalties. If you're going to call a penalty in overtime, you really you have no other option. There's no other choice. And a pair of times it happens to Florida in the overtime. You really can't blame them at this point for being undisciplined, because imagine how tired they are. Overtime power plays. And at 16 minutes of the second overtime period, 36 minutes into overtime, the Islanders on the power play end this game. It is Quine. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I honestly, I heard the pronunciation last night, but I can't remember it. Quine. It's Quine with his first of these playoffs. Zidlichki and Hickey drawing the assists. That's a bit of a cute rhyme there. Fakes the shot, moves to the top of the circle, and just slaps it home. It was a great goal, and you could see, Luongo's reaction to giving up the goal. Like, he just flops backwards, just exhausted, as I'm sure everyone in this game was. The Islanders, with a big overtime victory, they beat Florida in Florida to take a 3-2 series lead, heading home for Game 6. And the other game of last night saw Game 5 between the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. Dallas with a 3-1 edge in the series and an opportunity to end it on home ice. Had a lot of scoring in this game, but too much of it went the other way for the Stars. Minnesota comes up big, a 5-4 overtime victory for the Wild. Despite getting outshot 41-23, that's a very big edge for the hometown Stars. Minnesota gets it done. 5 goals on 23 shots on Antti Niemi. All of them were on Niemi. Now you got to wonder what the Stars do. The Stars' lineup decisions in this playoff have been interesting, and I am worried that it's going to cost them. Because now you got to wonder, what do they do during the playoffs? Or what do they do for the goaltenders? Now, what do you turn back to Kari Lehtinen after you took him out when you were already leading the series? I don't know. It's going to be interesting here in Dallas to see what happens for Game 6. The Stars set the physical pace early in this one. After Minnesota registers the first 2 hits, Dallas registering 5 of their own during a 3-minute push. But despite the physicality, Minnesota gets on the board here first, 3:32 into the first period. Minnesota's on the board. It's Granlund with surprisingly his first of these playoffs. Jones drawing the assist. Granlund picking up his own rebound on the side of the net. He stuffs it home behind Niemi. Minnesota is up 1-0. And less than 2 minutes later, the Wild now doubling their lead, 5:16 into the first period. Minnesota on the board again. It's Schroeder from Suter and Spurgeon. A wrist shot rebound there for Schroeder. He gets the goal. Niemi not looking great in the beginning of this game. Minnesota up 2-0. Now both teams starting to get a little bit of penalty trouble. That starts leading to a Dallas Stars push. Jamie Benn and Jason Spezza with a pair of great chances. The Wild, for their part, they're getting down there and they're blocking those shots. After that 2-0 goal, 6 consecutive blocks for the Wild, but the Stars keep on their game. They keep pressuring. Actually, they played a really good second half of the first period, and 17-18 into the first, Dallas gets on the board. It's Johnny Oduya, Faxa and Klingberg drawing the assists. Bit of a scramble off of a point slapper. Oduya gets the goal. Dallas is now within 1. Wild rebound here at the end of the first period. Little mini push. bit of a scramble, 5 attempts in the last 2 minutes on the Dallas net. Dallas getting down and blocking 2 of those 5 attempts, no damage. Spurgeon with a tripping penalty on Jamie Benn early in the second period, no damage on that power play, but a big Dallas push after the power play. Momentum kind of starts evening out, though, right around the middle of the second period. Johns with a big hit on Howla, continuing the physicality here for Dallas. But, I mean, the second period kind of goes with a whimper here for the rest of it and really ends with a whimper. More misses and shot blocks than actual shots in the last 4 minutes of the second period. Really not much to report. We're going to head into the third where the Stars come out flying. A near miss, a goal post, and then a minute into the third period, Dallas ties this game. It's Jamie Benn, his third of these playoffs. Klingberg drawing his second assist of the night. Klingberg, first of all, making a great play to keep this play onside, and then feeds it into the slot. Jamie Benn with a nice little deke. He dekes Dubnyk out of his jock, and it's a great goal that ties this game. But the fans in the Lone Star State don't even have enough time to sit back down in their seats when Minnesota takes the lead right back. A minute 50 into the third period, Minnesota scores its Nino Niederreiter with his first of these playoffs. Jared Spurgeon and Jason Pominville with the helpers. A lead pass just sends Niederreiter in. And speaking of really nice dekes, Niederreiter puts a great deke on Antti Niemi. He puts it in the net, and Minnesota is back up. Minnesota also bolstering the physical effort after the go-ahead goal, 7 consecutive hits for the Wild. Despite the Wild outplaying them physically, the Stars are maintaining their edge in shots, chances, attempts. They just keep digging here and keep digging, and they get rewarded for it with a pair of goals within 30 seconds. 8:28 into the third period, Dallas ties the game again. Spezza with his third of this series, Janmark and Eves with the assists. Just a super weak wrister, a weaker wrister than the Patrick Marleau goal, I believe it was, in the Joe Pavelski goal in the San Jose game. It was even weaker than that, but I don't think Dubnyk saw it for a second. He was screened, and he wasn't expecting the puck to come on net from that angle, and it just slides right under him. Dallas has tied this game. And then, as I mentioned, 28 seconds later, Dallas takes the lead. It's Goligoski with his first from Cody Eakin. Again, another screen that I don't think Dubnyk particularly saw. From the top of the circle, Goligoski just throws it on net. It deflects off of a couple of Wild players, and it's in the net. And you feel like that's the backbreaker. Like that's going to be the goal that does it here. And Dallas has taken the lead. Minnesota's big guns, for their part, really pick up their play, trying to keep their team alive. Shots coming in from Michael Granlund, Jason Pominville, Matt Dumba, these guys that have great shots. They're throwing attempts at the net. The attempts are getting there, and the Wild are desperately trying to stay alive here. Dubnyk comes up big, making some very key saves. Dallas recording 6 straight shots here in a certain point in the third period. Devin Dubnyk keeping the Wild alive. And 16:51 into the third period, last 4 minutes, almost last 3 minutes of the third period, with their playoff lives on the line, it's the captain. It's Mikko Koivu getting the goal. Granlund and Pominville with the assists. Michael Granlund gets down in the office, puts it out front to Mikko Koivu in the slot. He scores. Giant celebration. Mikko Koivu ties this thing up. That's the captain doing what the captain needs to do. We are heading to overtime after a trio of big Minnesota Wild blocks. We're going to OT. It's a bit of a track meet here in the early overtime period. Devin Dubnyk stoning Jason Spezza. Dallas, for the most part, basically controlling the play here. But Minnesota gets a chance, and you're in overtime. All you need is one. 4 minutes, 55 seconds into the overtime period. It's Mikko Koivu again, the captain, taking the team on his back and making sure that they survive. Koivu with his third of these playoffs, his second of the game. Suter and Prosser picking up the assists. A nice little steal, and Koivu just deflects the Ryan Suter point shot. It goes through the 5-hole of Antti Niemi. I know he wants that one back, but Minnesota wins the game 5-4 in overtime. They stay alive. Dallas now leads the series 3-2, but they got to go back to Minnesota for Game 6. All right, folks, 3 games on tap for you this evening. We have a pair of elimination games as well as a Game 5 in Anaheim. But we're going to start with the Rangers at Pittsburgh. The Pens with a chance to wrap this series up on home ice. 3-1 series advantage for Pittsburgh. This game begins at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's an afternoon start, of course, where it's Saturday. Sportsnet 360 in Canada, as well as NBC, the main NBC network in the United States. Lundqvist versus Murray is going to be your goaltending matchup here. The Rangers will go back to the well in an elimination game. There's nobody else. If you're not going to play Lundqvist in an elimination game, what's the point of still having him there? So Lundqvist versus Murray is going to be the goaltending matchup here. And the Rangers, of note, in back-to-back seasons, have rallied from 1-3 down in a series. It's not like they haven't done it before. It's also worth noting the Rangers have won 5 of the last 6 playoff games against the Penguins in Pittsburgh. So they know how to win in Pittsburgh. The Rangers are just 1 for 16 on the power play in this series. That is not good enough. There are rumors that they may insert Rafael Diaz into the lineup just for some help on the power play. Dan Girardi remains questionable for Game 5. We don't know whether we will see him or not. If we do see Dan Girardi, his primary task is going to be shutting down the superstars for Pittsburgh, because the superstars are being superstars. You look at Crosby, Malkin, and Kessel. They've combined for 7 goals in this series, 16 points, 6 of those goals coming on the power play, and they've racked up 13 power play points between the 3 of them. They've been phenomenal. And I don't know what you do if you're the Rangers. You have to, Lundqvist has to play out of his mind. He honestly has to. And your defense has to be better, especially on those superstar players. For his part, Ryan McDonagh, now that he's been back in the lineup, the captain for the Rangers, he's been in for 2 games. He's done nothing. He's a -1 with 1 shot. He's been in there for 2 games. Maybe he's still feeling the effects of an injury, I suppose. How could you not at this time of year? But McDonagh is the guy that needs to step up for the Rangers. He's the captain. He's got the C for a reason. McDonagh needs to step up here, and I think McDonagh does. I'll even go so far as to say Ryan McDonagh tonight gets the game-winning goal. I like the Rangers to stay alive in Pittsburgh. Game 5, I'll take the Rangers 2-1 to win in Pittsburgh, bring it back to MSG for Game 6. The other elimination game we have tonight is the Game 6 matchup between St. Louis in Chicago. Chicago, of course, winning a double overtime thriller to bring it back home to Illinois. They trail this series 3-2. This game begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's available on CBC in Canada, as well as the full NBC network down in the States. Elliott versus Crawford. That's going to be your goaltending matchup. Neither one of these teams should be short on confidence. That last game going into double overtime, both teams getting excellent chances. Chicago looking like they were down and out. They've got the puncher's chance, and they throw the haymaker knockout shot in double overtime. Patrick Kane with the winner there. St. Louis has in fact won 3 straight games in Chicago going back to the regular season. I believe April 7th was that first game in Chicago that the Blues won. So they've won 3 times in April in Chicago. That's unbelievable. Notable for the Blackhawks, Andrew Shaw will return from his 1-game suspension. He's got 4 points in 4 games. 2 of them have been on the power play. He's got 9 shots. Andrew Shaw can be a difference maker for this Blackhawks lineup, and they are going to love the fact that he is back, not just for what he's put up on the score sheet, but just for the presence and the attention that he commands on the ice. It's just another guy to divert the eyes of these St. Louis defenders and open the game up a little bit. Brian Elliott has been owning Corey Crawford in this goaltending matchup. Brian Elliott has arguably been the goaltender of the playoffs, although there's guys now that are making their case. Michael Neuwirth is certainly making his case. But Brian Elliott, for my money, since the start of the playoffs, has been the best goaltender. 941 save percentage versus just a 914 for Corey Crawford. Elliott facing the second most shots against in these playoffs and still putting up a 941. He's been the most impressive to me, but I think this scoring opens up in this one. I think eventually, like, you play with fire for so long, I think eventually your scoring has to start amping up. I'm predicting 7 goals in this game, and I'm predicting 4 of them for Chicago. I like the Blackhawks on home ice to take this thing to a Game 7. A Game 7 is what this series deserves. That's what I'm going to predict. I like Chicago 4-3 to tie this series at 3 and go back to St. Louis for a 7th and deciding game. And the other game tonight sees the Nashville Predators traveling to Anaheim to take on the Ducks. This series is tied at 2 games apiece, with the road team having won every game in the series. This is a 6 p.m. Eastern start. It's available on the Sportsnet network in Canada as well as NBCSN in the United States. Pekka Rinne, Frederik Andersen, that will be your goaltending matchup. The Ducks are looking to break the 4-game road win streak in this series. As I mentioned, every road team has won every game. Anaheim in Game 4, 25 shot blocks. You're going to be black and blue after that one, but you're getting the job done. Especially when you're down 2-0 or 2-1 in a series. You need a spark, and the guys who are selling out and putting their bodies on the line to keep the pucks away from the net, that's your spark right there. Notable for the Predators, Craig Smith will be a game-time decision. I would think that they would obviously much rather have him in the lineup, especially given that the Preds are just 1 for 19 on the power play in this series. So it would be nice to get another weapon back that you could possibly roll out on the power play. But Smith is a game-time decision. Don't know whether he will play or not. Since taking over the Anaheim net, Frederik Andersen has a 983 save percentage, stopping 57 of 58 Nashville shots, 983 save percentage, a .50 goals against, and a shutout. Holy cow, Frederik Andersen has taken this net, and it is now his. I like Anaheim on home ice to finally get the first home win of this series. I'll take the Ducks 3-2. Maybe it goes to overtime, who knows? But I like the Ducks to win tonight, take a series lead heading back to Nashville for Game 6. All right, folks, that will do it for the Saturday, April 23rd edition of the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast. Had another series end last night, have the potential of 2 more series ending tonight. It's the most exciting time in any round. Elimination games, backs against the wall, usually breeds the best hockey, so I can't wait to check out these games tonight. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Saturday, April 23rd is in the books. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you again on Sunday.